Hello, I'm attorney Dan Marr from the Nashua, New Hampshire law firm of Hamlin Kerrigan. I've been practicing law in New Hampshire for about 38 to 39 years and in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for about 28 or so years. And during that time, I've represented a lot of businesses and I've consulted a lot on human resource issues, employment issues. And I'm going to be talking today about what happens when something you do outside the workplace affects your job, maybe ends up with you losing your job. And also, this is helpful for management to understand that you can take actions against employees that have done something outside the workplace. We're going to talk about that in today's vlog. So, first and foremost, in New Hampshire, we're an employee at will state, which means you can fire somebody with or without cause or with or without notice, and the employee can quit with or without cause and with or without notice. There's implications as to, of course, unemployment insurance, getting your unemployment if you leave, and then there's, of course, a whole host of statutes as to protections, as to protected classes and protected actions. Obviously, if somebody is saying to the boss, I think you're doing something, the company's doing something illegal, and they get fired for that, or they refuse to do some illegal activity, or because of some type of protected class, their race, religion, gender, gender identity, a variety of other important protected classes, then they can't be fired for those reasons. But if you're doing something outside the workplace that the boss doesn't like, in a lot of situations they can fire you. Not because you're going to a rally, a peaceful rally about something you like or dislike about what the federal government's doing or the state government's doing. Generally, those are protected as freedom of speech there. But if you can't, somebody's taking action against you because you are promoting something, you may have a decent claim, even if it's a private employer, for the notion of doing something public policy would encourage. So if you're saying you're in favor of ICE or not in favor of ICE, and you're protesting in regards to that, or some other situation you're in favor of whatever state issue is going on at that particular time, and you're rallying in regards to those rights, it is possible that if you were to be fired by your employer for taking that stance, that the public policy exception of the employer will doctrine would apply, where it's a tough argument for the employee, but you're saying that the employer has fired you in bad faith for something that you were doing that was protecting interests, particularly if you're protecting children or you're doing something else that a jury can really get their hands around and say this is something that's important. You may be protected in regards to that. If you're a public employee, then you certainly have some freedom of speech rights, more than you do as a private employee. Generally, as I stated to employers and employees alike, if a boss doesn't like your political view, while that's a very bad decision for the boss to get rid of somebody, as a private employer, if you're very animated, and particularly if you're animated at work or at an office party saying why you are in favor of the current president or against the current president, and it causes dissension in the ranks, you may lose your job. You may find out Monday because you're pontificating on Friday outside of the work employee party about why you are in favor or against something that the rest of the employees don't like your opinion on. You're very boisterous and strong about your opinion on that. Because of that, even though it's political speech, in the private workplace, you may lose your job in regards to that, and that losing of the job may stick, and you're not having any rights there because it's your activities, your actions, and you're making these employees feel uncomfortable with you because you're belligerent about whatever your view is. You can have your views, but being belligerent about it and trying to tell other people why they're stupid because they don't agree with you, that's very MSNBC and Fox News type cable stuff that you shouldn't be following. If you're just following that mantra of cable TV and you're pontificating with other co-employees, you might lose your job in regards to that. Certainly if you get drunk and you make a move on an employee at an outside party, you can lose your job in regards to that. Sexual harassment, whether it's outside or inside the workplace, the employer can definitely take actions against you in regards to that. So those are issues that you should definitely consider when you're outside. Are you going to go to an employee party? I've dealt with this issue before with clients that are saying, should I even go and risk going to another employee's party. It is very helpful to get to know other people. And sometimes you might have somebody, like I said, that's belligerent and maybe wanting to talk all about politics. Ask them about if they have any pets. If they do, they're going to love talking to you about their pets, their dog, their cat, whatever they may have. And you're going to have some mutuality, perhaps, of interest there that you can divert the questions away from politics or religion or whatever they're doing that's a hot topic, and think about that. And if you're able to navigate that way, for one, you're going to be increasing your social skills, and you're going to make a connection with that person, and that person's going to be easier to deal with in the future. So think about that, and also think about the possibility of, and if you're handling something like that and other people are watching you handle it that way, they're going to be impressed, and management might get impressed, and you might be able to make an upward mobility in regards to your job too. And you're learning how to deal with difficult people, and that's very helpful. Learning how to deal with difficult people is a skill set that you have to test yourself, and it's well worth it. So I certainly encourage people to go to these outside parties. Watch out what you're saying outside the workplace, because what you say on the weekend can affect what happens on Monday morning. You do have some rights in regards to what your activities are, but if you're doing anything belligerent or you're doing something that's that's going to conflict with the employer's positions on particular issues, then you might lose your job. I'm Dan Maher at Hamlin Kerrigan at 883-5501, 883-5501. You can also check out our website at naturalllaw.com, and you can see my weekly blogs. I do them by topic, and you can scroll through and find ones of interest to you. Look forward to working with you. The opportunity rises. Thank you.